My friend Elijah is dead. Murdered. I knew it was coming. Had time to prepare for it. But I didn't. I couldn't, because I didn't know when it would happen, or by whom at first. It started with a dream. Well, several, actually. The first time it started off with me being on my phone, looking at my texts when I got a message from him. Someone had started texting him from an unknown number, and sent him obnoxious and toxic messages. They threatened to kill him after he said he was going to block them, but he did it anyway. This had freaked him out, more so than I expected, so I offered to stay at his place and basically keep an eye out for him and his family at night. So, that's how it went. During the day, I did whatever, and at night, I stayed up and kept an eye on things. Until one night, when I fell asleep. Someone had broken a window and entered, which woke me up. I had run to call 911, but they didn't arrive in time. I heard gunshots. I ran away from the phone to see Elijah, his girlfriend, Allison, and their baby, all dead. Blood pouring out of the holes all over their bodies. I woke up in a cold sweat. I looked around to see my bedroom walls, and that is when I dismissed what my mind had seen as nothing more than a severely fucked up nightmare. Now, my friends and I didn't live particularly close to each other, and while we were pretty good friends, I doubted that something like that would ever happen, so I went back to sleep. I had similar dreams, about 4 more times, each with different details. I was a bit weirded out after that, but I still refused to believe it was real, because the situation just wasn't realistic. Though, what happened after? The situation was almost entirely different. We weren't in the city. No, we were in the woods. It seemed that these dreams took place in Robinson State Park, near to where we lived. Sometimes Elijah was bound and gagged. Sometimes I was. Sometimes the dreams took place in a forest, and sometimes it wasn't. Yet the outcome was always the same. Elijah, his family, and a friend of ours, Adam, were murdered. Usually with a knife, and always in very gory ways. I had these wooded dreams about 20 times over the course of that night. Needless to say, I was not happy. It was not a good day at all. This took its toll on me for a long time. Eventually, I needed to vent about this to someone, which is when I decided to talk to a mutual friend of mine, Elijah's and Adam's. Her name was Andrea. What Andrea told me about the situation did not make me feel any better, nor did it help my already existing anxiety about the dreams. She had basically told me that my fears about the reoccurring dreams coming true, which, by the way, was a valid fear since most of them did, were accurate, and she told me why. Andrea had been having similar dreams, except for the fact that she was the killer in her dreams. She went on to explain that she did not want to do anything like that, yet she was afraid of losing control again, as she had recently struck a string of bad luck and was having a difficult time coping with it and having a hard time keeping a handle on things. Learning this wasn't entirely surprising to me, as I had known about her mental struggles since we were attending Robinson Park School, which was right next to Robinson State Park. This news had made me uneasy, though, as we were all planning on going on a camping trip there sometime during the upcoming summer. Andrea and I had agreed that it was best to just try and keep this all from happening, and I promised to do my best in helping her and keeping her okay. Time went by, and things went up a little, then down a lot. Sometimes it spiked up again, but it would soon plummet back down. However, Andrea kept insisting that she was okay, no matter how many times I would ask, so I let it go. We had planned to be camping in the state park for somewhere between a few days to a week or so we had plenty of preparations to accomplish. The bad feeling I got was growing worse by the second, yet I pretended not to be worried. The camping trip finally came around. We were there for a day or two, all right, but it was okay. The third day came around and something was seriously wrong with Andrea. Everyone could tell, but nobody said anything. The day went by with Andrea pretending nothing was wrong. No one was buying it. Then, night came. Everybody was having a good night and was happy, doing normal campfire things, and eventually we all turned in and went to sleep. I woke up to the baby and Allison screaming, only to hear a disturbing, sickening crunch. And the baby stopped crying. I crawled out of the tent, ran to see what was going on in their tent. But what I saw was horrible. The baby's broken, bloody and mangled body, with a bloody hammer next to it, and Allison's bloody corpse, who was cut open deeply, is what I saw. She was cut so deeply that her intestines were falling out all over the floor of the tent, and then I heard a laugh. I was going to turn around, but I felt something slam hard against the back of my head, and everything went black. The first notable thing after waking up was the fact that I could not see, move, or speak. My feet were tied, my mouth was gagged, and my eyes were blindfolded, and my hands were tied behind my back. The next notable thing was the strange chanting in Andrea's voice, sounding from somewhere ahead of me. It got closer and closer until suddenly I could see as Andrea pulled out a knife and started walking in the opposite direction again. I followed her with my eyes and saw a makeshift altar with weird symbols all around it and on the trees. Elijah and Adam were on either side, tied in the same way that I was. She continued chanting as she grabbed a medium-sized jar from somewhere. She then picked up Adam and placed him behind the altar. I then watched as she slashed his throat, putting some of his blood into the jar and letting the rest spill out onto the altar. I tried to yell, but the only sound that came out was muffled. I tried even harder as I watched her do the same thing to Elijah. She then slashed her arm and let some of the blood into the jar and onto the altar, and did the same to me. She then took the jar and mixed the blood together. She then drank half of the blood in the jar, after dropping something from an eyedropper into it and shaking it more. She then took the gag out of my mouth and forced the liquid down my throat. I tried to speak so I could ask her why the fuck she was doing this, but I couldn't. It didn't matter to me, though, because she answered my question anyway. She told me that she wasn't off her meds, and she knew exactly what she was doing. She was never actually on them. She then strangled me until I passed out. When I woke up, I was in the hospital, with my family, doctors, and police watching me. It was explained to me that they had gotten a call from someone claiming that there was a bear attack at the location where I was found, and they had questions for me. I told them what had happened the best I could, despite knowing they wouldn't find her. And even if they did, capturing her wouldn't be putting her to justice for what she had done. Every single time she had called us her family, telling us that she'd always be there. No. She's going to suffer for what she's done. I'm going back to Robinson State Park, where she will inevitably be waiting. I'm going to find her and do things to her that will make what she did to them look like a fucking joke. Then I will continue what I started I will keep doing the things that my friend had convinced me to do. It's what Elijah would want, given how much he enjoyed doing those things himself. I will also continue to protect what family I have left. At any cost.